You got to start preparing for that as well. And then how do you follow up? If he's going to play Armadillo, you have to anticipate a Tomb Warden.
Right. No Nourish being offered. As we've talked about, crucial card in the matchup. Orange yet to find them. Starfall has picked up, and there is a board that needs clearing, and there isn't an Ubisoft Defender in hand, but War Druid Loti, such a high-value card in the deck overall.
If you're going to think about Armadillo, your Starfall is the prime option, but Orange is taking into account how thin his hand is right now.
Well, I think he doesn't have to account for Armadillo if he just plays Oasis Surger this turn, because then he's just got it checked on board, in a sense. Right? Like you'll have two 5-3 and a 5-4 on the board that aren't contested, so Viper can't just play Armadillo and just have it uncontested on board anymore. This actually makes sense to me.
Yeah, Viper not happy about it. It's that same fear is there still, is the reason why. Like, if you play this and you get Starfall, you take 10. A lot of times you have to think about that representation, and honestly, it's a situation for me where it feels like Viper is too smart for his own good almost. Where he's like, he knows how punishing a Starfall could be in this spot, and he's like, I need to avoid that.
Yeah. It also did just get a lot less attractive because the Oasis Surges are on board, but I feel like this is the curve you've set out. Nope, you're going to divert.
Sometimes it's best to be like TJ. Where TJ just doesn't care. And he thinks about stuff, but he goes, what if they don't have it? And he wins a lot of games.
He does.
Once upon a time, TJ used to use his brain. He stopped doing that, started winning.
I'm not quite sure that's an accurate timeline, but we'll go with it for the sake of the story.
And Orange seeing Dynomatic down, I think that certainly opens up some enticement to the War Druid Lodi.
Yeah.
And trying to buy back some of this board. The Ferocious Owl giving him some breathing room as well. That Nourish being one card draw off is... Ooh.
Yeah, that Nourish is a shining beacon on the right-hand side of Orange's hand right now. Like, as soon as you draw that card, you're kind of tumbling into like, okay, how do I get away with playing this next turn, right? Like I need enough space that I can nourish next turn and be okay with it.
I think that just means War Druid Lodi.
I do agree.
As much as you want to leave it hidden, I think that life total can be precious.
I'm not necessarily sure you do attack. No, I agree with this. I think leaving it stealth here is perfectly reasonable.
I think it's reasonable. That hand is big.
This is the bigger problem, right? If you're scared of Armadillo,
well,
you don't want to just reveal your last way in hand to really deal with it unless you want to use the fluked version, which you kind of do not.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, if you attacked there and the Armadillo comes down, you still have 4/3 poisonous in play.
Right, but if
you have an opportunity to kill it, but then that foregoes the Armadillo.
Yeah, if you attack there, Viper doesn't necessarily play the Armadillo. They just kill that thing, and then you pass like you did on the previous turn, and then Orange has a hand that doesn't have a way to really challenge Armadillo from hand in it anymore.
Innervate drawn. Big draw. But again, how do you set up against Tomb Wardens? Can you afford to perhaps take a hit? Does Viper fall for that bait?
What if?
He's seen the mind control tech go away, so I'd say a little bit more incentive to put stuff on board, but he's staring down that spell damage on the other side.
Yeah.
Wow, Orange gonna hold off. That is a bold move. I guess he's attacking. Okay. I was like, we're killing it, right?
Oh, yeah. That thing was always dying.
Whew.
The Starfall there does allow him to keep his Loti in stealth, which, as you were saying, kind of has upside because you can then slightly more effectively deal with the Tomb Wardens that come down. But then that's not really true because in that universe, you've already used your Starfall, which would be the big removal spell that you wanted to use with your stealth Loti anyway. So I kind of feel like just keeping the Starfall in hand and using the Loti to take care of the Armadillo probably is the more beneficial way round of doing it.
Super Collider pickup. I mean, does it line up more perfectly than this?
Not really. The only issue is that
now?
number in the bottom right says 8. 5 isn't 8.
I'm okay with just Wipeout. There's all of Viper's plays are good. Whether he
Yeah.
coins Dr. Boom, whether he trades over the Lodi and plays Tomb Warden, or whether he uses Super Collider. Heck, even if he uses Ziliax here, all of Viper's plays are good. And this is a situation that has been common in Warrior versus Druid and European Grandmasters. This is not supposed to be the case.
Nope. Apparently not, but this is what we keep seeing. I think Orange is still relatively comfortable. He's in a much more comfortable spot than we've seen various other Druids in previous weeks playing in this matchup, because in other matchups, the Druid had got beaten down to like within an inch of their life, like single-digit HP, and then they had to they were just throwing out Hidden Oasis and Starfall every turn, just scrambling to stay alive. Orange stabilized much, much earlier and has been able to start to focus on game plans of setting up win conditions himself much sooner. And so because of that, even with the big pile of stats on the other side, I think Orange is a little bit more comfortable, but I'm still very curious how big of an impact that Deathwing is going to have on proceedings when it gets down to the hyper late game.
Who dares defy such land?
Love this board tension. Make big boards when the warrior has stuff in play, because then their own removal starts to have a liability to it as well.
Yep, that's such an important factor. That was something I quickly began to realize as I was keeping Nourish against them, is that, wait a minute, I have enough stuff that I can just play into their stuff.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do. So for Viper, the question is, number one, can I connect? And if so, is it impactful? If it's not, how can I handle board best? See him highlighting over everything. He's mapping out the next 16 options that players will have on attacks.
No tomb can hold me. No tomb can hold me.
I think he's found some pretty high efficiency here. However, that may be the time for him to step back and start playing defensive.
Well, based on Orange's hand, he might just have another fairly free turn here to just drop 2 Mordants for tempo once more.
The natural Lodi shows up. Important to note, Orange does not have King Ferris in his deck.
Yep.
So he's free to just spend and spend and spend. In Viper's game the other day with Druid, he demonstrated at the end of the game using Elise the Enlightened with Flabidinous Floop and creating about 4 Chef Nomis in your hand. And when I saw it take place, I was like, that's how you're supposed to do that. You just take a turn off and say, yeah, do your worst.
Yep.
Here's 7 6/6s, idiot. I imagine Orange has his eye on that at some point in this game.
Which makes that Floop an incredibly high-value card. It's hard to imagine a higher-value card than a 4-mana Cenarius that has both effects going off on it, but no, it is actually higher value than that in this deck. Choosing to develop a 6/6 over the swipe.
I like it.
I think with Loti in hand, that does make some sense. See if he can siphon some of these Super Collider charges away from Viper as well by just presenting a very attractive attack for him.
No shortage of gas on Viper's side, though.
Nope.
I'll be curious when he wants to get this Dr. Boom in play.
When he finds a Shield Slam to go with it, maybe.
Wow.
Okay, then.
All right, so what I've learned is that the Boom Reaver, Tomb Warden, and Omega Devastator are the only mechs available. Wow.
It can't happen again, can it, Admirable?
I mean, Viper had the hand.
He did.
He's got the goods right
but
now.
how many times can every warrior we see
He's
draw the hand?
He's got a Deathwing in the deck, all right?
That is a good point. All right, good point. Well made.
Tenya. And the more removal that Orange expends, the tougher it's going to look because Viper's hand is huge. There's no way for Orange to know that.
What if...
Now, as far as Orange is concerned, this can be like 3 1 to 3 cost mechs off the Omega Assembly and then a bunch of removal in the other slots. It's not. It's heat all the way down.
What if...
Cosmetic is going for a clear here with the Lodian swipe. Protect that Crystal Merchant, hope it buys some time.
Fortunate part is that the Lotus is going to have to be used just to suicide into this mech, but you got to do what you got to do. You can't keep taking 10 for too much longer.
No, you cannot. I hate taking 10. That's one of my least favorite things to do. And it's one of my most favorite things to do.
What about, I'm really thinking about this one, taking 11.
Oh my gosh. This is not fair. This is illegal.
There you go. You show that restraint for a while and then you bring it out. That's how it's done.
I'm not kidding. Call the police.
All right. All right. What is it, 911 here? Is
it's
that right?
0811-999-88199-911-9725.
Got it.
3.
Let's see.
If that's actually the right number, I'm going to be amazed.
Of course it is. I might have missed a 1.
I'm checking immediately.
0811. That's the part I'm least confident about.
In the break, I'm checking. Twitch, that's probably confused. I know that's not the number for emergency services. It's a reference, and if he got the number right, I'm going to be stunned.
Better looking drivers now.
Yeah.
Orange is trying to scrape by. I mean, look at this. He's like, okay, this has got to be like the last bit. He's got maybe a Tomb Warden, like a Bronze Gatekeeper.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He sees the laser go off last turn, right? Like he knows there's at least something else big coming down.
It could just be Bronze Gatekeeper, right?
It could be.
Yeah, you're hoping it is.
Rusty Recycler
exactly.
Or some garbage. Yeah.
And then you see Dr. Boom, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the bad mechs.
Yeah, there's no way he wants to play Dr. Boom first and then rush these giant Tomb Wardens into my stuff. That's not a real world.
Whoa.
Excuse me? 911, I'd like to report a murder.
All right, Zephyr's active, though. Wrath shows up. It's a major uphill battle for Orange, but he's not out of it.
Let's see.
He doesn't know it's an uphill battle, though, and it's not supposed to be.
Nope.
There's 2 things I want to focus in on. Number 1, Viper's deck does not contain weapon destruction. So if at any point Zephyrus for Tyrion becomes the strong thing to do,
yeah,
I think it's a
I wonder where
fairer
you were
option.
going with that for a second, but yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Number 2, if you're going to rip the Chef Nomi and have the Zephyrus and Nomi and Floop in hand, you might want a 5/5 in play, but you're staring at a Super Collider.
You're also staring down Kaboom Hero Power, which if you don't do anything, there's just a 5/1 on board that dies to the Hero Power and they get free development.
Sounds like we make him use a Super Collider.
Yeah.
Let's see. Need a hand, Explorer?
Do you need to spend an Innervate? What are the 3 remaining cards?
So they see the setup that Admirable was talking about previously. That Floop on the far left is now an Elise, so he can essentially keep duplicating this hand for as long as he can afford to take, in Admirable's words, turns off to do so. The problem is Viper has a really good hand to prevent Orange from taking turns off to duplicate Chef Nomi's.
I think Orange is actually pretty happy to burn a card here as well, because you want to use floops on Elise.
Yep.
Your burns are going to be Anubisath, Defender, Wrath, and then something I can't quite identify at the moment. What I think is a swipe?
Second Worthy Expedition?
He only has one
He only
copy of Worthy
plays one?
Expedition.
Okay.
I think it's correct in the Elise versions. It's a tough card to activate.
Yep.
It's somewhere in the neighborhood of the card doesn't matter.
Right.
And so when you're duplicating your hand and trying to make more hand space, what ends up happening is you have to spend a ton of cards.
Right.
So burning cards can become a benefit for Orange to help contain the hand size. And I think that's manipulated really well here.
Okay, then.
He's got to get everything picture perfect to win this game.
Uses the smaller of the two Wardens and preserves his Super Collider.
My
I like
hand
it.
overflows.
Fascinating.
See, it's spots like this. Like, you don't really want to do too much in Orange's position. You want to take your time and continue to contain your hand size and make it perfect. So stuff like Zephyrus starts to look way better in these instances. Burning Oasis, Hidden Oasis in this spot, knowing that you have
Needs it out
backup.
of the hand. Just needs it out the hand. Needs space. You can see Viper on his part as well. He's just already accounting for threats. I think he was counting the amount of duplications that could be in hand there, the big relevant threats that he cares about. Hidden Oasis will be amongst them. But then he's counting, okay, so like right now there's 2 Nomis, there's 2 Zephyrs. These are all the things I've got to beat.
Orange going the full Monty.
I think he has to. Like I said, like he doesn't. The hand that Viper has and the pressure he's generating,
Need
he
a
can't
hand,
just
Explorer?
take turns completely off right now. He has to take small risks like this that he whiffs on a high-value card, and he does whiff on a Nomi.
But
Your wish is my suggestion.
yeah, that hitting the Hidden Oasis, I think, was not the ideal spot for Orange, but his hand has a ton of stuff going on right now. So
Yep.
Viper has to figure out, how do I defend myself or how do I turn up the heat? Because it's got to be one of those two now. Orange's hand is getting insane, and we're about to see the explosive turns that Orange can produce.
Yeah, this is about to get big, and from my perspective, Viper can kind of do both right now. Like, he can attack with these Omega Devastators and just push damage face and make a huge board, but then if he is forced back on the defensive later on,
This would
with
be a
10
good
cards remaining
time
in his
for a
deck, he's
master
already found
plan.
double Brawl and his Deathwing. Now, don't get me wrong, Orange has way more board refills available if he keeps going with this duplication than Viper can handle, but he has to do that while staying alive himself. Like, is it Orange that's stuck in the bad position about whether to defend or attack?
There's 2 reasons I don't think so. Number 1, if Viper expends everything here to try to contain the board, that opens up the window for Orange to actually use his Zephyruses as a defensive measure. So he's got that checked. Number 2, he has 2 Hidden Oasis in hand. So he has the ability to fight back on the life total front as well. Once he gets into fatigue, he can buy himself some time to get the Nomis active. So Viper wants to push this damage right now, and he doesn't overcommit to the board. And that's what I really like about this. He preserves the Super Collider charges.
Starfall was the one card that we couldn't account for. There you go. Just saw it.
So this is Twisting Nether all day.
Yep. You always got to have that quick think about Shadow Flame. It's always the one that's surprisingly good sometimes, but not here.
Okay, so it doesn't offer Brawl. I was thinking, like, are you ever desperate enough to, like, try to win a Brawl in this spot?
Yeah, I don't have a 100% handle on how Zephyrus assesses Brawl there, but I think when there's those 2 huge 5-attack minions on board, it values Brawl a bit lower because it knows that those are really bad outcomes for you if that happens.
Our Megadillo from a Discovery, our Megadillo from the Boom Reaver, our Megadillo from the Natural. Wow.
That is now a triple buffed Tomb Warden, I believe, that is left remaining in hand.
That's
I
right.
have no cards left.
Nomi time. For Orange, it's about stopping Viper from being able to really develop for the rest of the game. But being at 17...
Question mark.
Yeah.
Kaboom hero power. Is there anything else you can do to not give that immediate Plague of
What
Wrath over to
if?
the opponent?
No, because you
Okay.
need to develop. You just have to hope that Plague of Wrath's not there. That Kaboom hero power is super timely right now. I don't know. Maybe you have to. You know, is there like a
Now,
deviation
how
with like a Hidden
about-
Oasis turn or something? Another Zephyrus, a Tyrion. Like, you don't really have that many options.
Zephyrus Black Knight is incredibly weak, but it's an option that you have to not overdevelop into the Kaboom.
The problem is if you Zephyrus Black Knight, you're just going to be in the same situation. They're going to play something big and you don't have enough board.
Next turn, you might not be looking at that Kaboom hero power, though, which makes the jamming Nomi plan a lot better.
Well, you definitely won't be looking at it.
And you can see Orange just going through all the same debates, but he does end up on Nomi number 1.
Instantaneous Kaboom. He knows what that means. Down to 12, going to 11.
Can't just keep playing Nomis.
I do think you play another one here, though. You got 2 more to back up. Yeah, you do need to heal, though, as well. Like, you don't want to be pinned against the heal.
Yeah, exactly.
Wave after wave. 3 more Nomis available for Orange.
That's it. That's his limit. The Floop has been used, so no more releases. Orange knew he had to go, start representing pressure. So Viper now has wave clears for 3 of these with 2 Brawls and his Deathwing.
That 2 more is just insane.
Yeah, exactly. So any additional turn where he can deal with a Nomi without using a mass clear, he then suddenly has enough AoEs remaining to take care of all the Nomis, and the X Factor just becomes the Zephyrus and the additional minions.
Look at that Super Collider.
Same.
Face.
What did I say earlier? Smaller Tomb Warden preserved the Super Collider, and now you can see exactly why that Super Collider massively important as it gets to the late game stages with Chef Nomi. Viper recognized it.
How on earth does Orange break this?
I don't think he can.
Let's see.
I mean, you can't take 11.
Nope.
Hidden Oasis on deck then.
Has to be. Deliberate sequencing to leave himself the space on board.
Time grows short.
No.
Your wish is my suggestion.
What? Oh.
What did he want? Did he want the execute? I'm guessing so. Has to be, right? It's really damn solid there.
Maybe Master Spell. He's like, I can take the damage for a turn.
I don't think so.
It was just such a big buff on the
And I
2
think,
board.
like,
And he doesn't, Zephyrus doesn't recognize that properly, I don't
Right,
think.
we were having this debate on Twitter last night, and Orange himself specifically was one of the people who was saying, like, it just doesn't give Master
This would
Spell.
be
So
a
I think
good
he
time for
understands
a
that,
master
would not go
plan.
for it in that spot, emphatically. Viper's still just saying no to the AoEs. Why should he AoE in this position? Still has the Super Collider on deck.
I mean, you're beating down the door.
Yep. 2 more Nomis left. 2 Brawls and a Deathwing. This Tyrion is not going to be enough to be the kicker. I think it's happened again, Admirable.
It's happened again.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Lethal represented and then some. 7 mana Nomi, not an option here.
First turn that Viper cannot actively reload. And so you can see where the Deathwing starts to come in. just as a timing tool. Can you play a Deathwing and represent, heck, even if you have another way to refill, I can just hit you for 12 and fatigue kills you.
Okay, then.
That's so smart.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing the Deathwing this game somehow.
I mean, unless Viper draws something, he's got to put a lot of damage into board to clear it off. That could be enough.
Light the fuses!
Doesn't even touch the 6-2 in the middle. Take 9. $12 represented, and with that tick of fatigue, Orange can't win. Wow.
Yet again, I believe, is that still 100% win rate for Warrior in Europe Grandmasters? It's close to it if it isn't. And it is an anomaly. And we all know that Druid should be favored. It just makes sense. But we are not witnessing that in Europe Grandmasters. We are witnessing some exemplary Warrior play and some very, very high percentage Warrior outcomes and draws that is leading to a position where the Druids are just getting beaten up in spots where they shouldn't be.
Discovered a Megodillo with 2 Tomb Wardens and a Ziliax in hand. He got one off of a Boom Reaver, and then he drew the other one in a timely fashion, and he capitalized on the fact that he did. And so to me, that's the spots I want to look at, though, is when you're in unfavored spots, you have to do things when you find the right hand that gives you that edge. You need to lock out those games when you get those fortunate situations. And Viper has absolutely been above and beyond the call doing that. When he has the right cards and he has the right tools, he has been closing in matchups that are unfavored because he's been offered that opportunity.
Yeah, and rewind, like, I don't know, probably 10 turns in that matchup, and you can see Viper's timing where we were talking about, like, well, maybe you just play the curve, Armagadillo, start coining out 8s. If he'd have done that, he wouldn't have got anywhere near the value he'd have ended up with at the end of the game. He got greedy, he held back, he used Dynamatic on a turn where we were maybe expecting just Armagadillo to come down and hit the board, and he got paid out huge for it. Maybe that is just a matchup understanding of saying, oh, no, this, even though this looks insane, Armagadillo and a buff 2 Tomb Wardens, it's not good enough. I need more than that in this matchup, and I'm just going to keep going and waiting.
Timing of it matters as well, and I think he really showed a tremendous understanding of how you win the matchup when you are going to win it. You know, it's not 100%, and that's what you're trying to take advantage of. So we're going to a break, and when we come back, we're going to find out if Orange can tie up the score or if Viper's going to be playing one of his little wacky decks and perhaps getting some wins with it. Stay tuned.
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tomb, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. But this league's gonna save the world.
My name is Elias Sibelius and I go under Boston. My username actually comes from my cat. His name is Boston, so I just took that and made it a little bit cooler with the triple Z. So yeah, shout out to him. When I got the confirmation that I was in Grandmaster, I was overwhelmed by emotions. Even though I haven't had the first place big tournament win, they actually appreciate that consistency and what I've been working for the last couple of years. I'm very good at focusing on a specific thing and keeping myself ready for the situation. Yeah, and my games and stuff like that. My favorite memory is still my first DreamHack. I remember facing Super JJ. I was a total newcomer, so it was very big for me to just be there and just realizing that I could actually beat all these players, and it was very cool. My personal goals for this year is I want to qualify for the playoff. Of course, I want to go to the global finals. That's, I think, everyone's goal, but I want to be one of the best players. I will try my best to get there, for sure.
Hello everyone, I'm Pavel. I didn't think too much about the username. I just wanted something simple and recognizable, so I thought that my name is perfect because I like my name. I'm looking forward to play and compete against one of the best players in the world. Most of them are my friends. I'm excited about the opportunity to qualify for the global finals. I wouldn't call myself a unique player. I just think that everyone can achieve good results if you work hard and play a lot of Hearthstone. My favorite memory of Hearthstone esports is definitely when I won a World Championship in 2016 and just took a trophy. I was just overwhelmed. One of the things that I like outside of Hearthstone gaming is to go on the nature trips, for example, go hiking or do a picnic or something. It feels really good to be at the Grandmaster League and be alongside with one of the best players in the world. I'm still a really good player. I'm looking forward to playing Grandmaster and show everyone there's no any other player who is better than me.
It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe. Spectacular Sunday with 6 matches involved. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Sottle-Welch, and we just came off of a crazy game where, yet again, Warrior has been getting the better of Druid in these situations. And, you know, something that occurred to me in that one is that Orange never really was able to buy back initiative. Is that why the King Pharos is important in the deck? Just forces your opponent to take a turn off like using a Brawl or a Warpath?
So yeah, I can see that argument in a vacuum, where if you can just take Orange's deck list and just also slap a King Pharos in there, like, yeah, that would improve your matchup against Warrior. The problem is, when players are playing the King Pharos, they're sacrificing something else, like a Nomi or an Elise to go in that spot. So I think if you make that substitution, you actually make your matchup against Warrior significantly worse. And if you want to pack them all in there, like, maybe you're just way too greedy against everything else. Who knows?
It's possible.
Yeah.
Just an important note. You know, I've noticed the players with King Pharos, they can tend to buy back the initiative at some point. And Orange, I still think, is favoring that spot. Just, we got beat down.
Yep.
Needed something way to bridge the gap. And so we got ourselves a Priest mirror match in game number 2.
Viper going first, has initiative on average to take favorable trades if he finds the right cards to do so. And he has the Light Warden.
In the light.
You know, he's got a good looking hand, but this is the kind of hand I always feel the most nervous with when I'm in Priest positions. It's like, my hand doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, personally, I think this is a pretty ugly looking hand for Viper. It's just a little bit slow, especially going first. There's a chance that he just has big whiffs on 2 turns if he finds ineffective spells off the top.
Yeah, like, to give you an idea, there are 4 cards in the deck that cost more than 3. He's drawn 3 of them.
Yeah. These are the crucial turns, and these are the turns that players will have run hundreds of reps on because you can play through this matchup so effectively. Coin Tol'Vir seems right. The only injured target on the board is that Tol'Vir, so if that gets healed, then the Light Warden is still not able to trade through it. And yep, you see Viper did draw an ineffective spell off the top, so he's now sat dead. Means initiative is going to be handed back over to Orange.
So the recovery effects for Viper, they're going to involve combinations of High Priests, Psychopomps, and buff spells. Orange is going to look to capitalize on this turn when he sees that Viper has nothing to do.
Yep.
And try to figure out how to end the game as quickly as possible from there.
I think Viper might need a Blade Master next turn, just so he can play that out and then go for the 50-50 of pulling it back from the Psychopomp afterward. This is about the best he's got to contest. Silence actually an incredibly high value card in the matchup in certain situations, though. We saw yesterday it was the one card the Bunny Hopper needed to swing the game state back his way.
I think Viper has drawn the conclusion that if they got the big buffs, I'm just not going to beat it anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's what his statement had said here, but
In the lights,
I don't want to believe that's true, but it probably is.
And he's not an injured Blade Master. That, in fact, is the second of 2 ineffective spells that I was talking about. Yep. Hard pass.
It's not uncommon to hard pass in the matchup sometimes, though. Like, you can get back from these positions, but Viper's hand cannot. Like, you need the wild Pyromancer types of turns where you have little cheap spells to go with it and, you know, keep chipping away at the little stuff they have in play.
Sure.
And hope that you can land a Psycho Pump style turn. Right now, Viper would need to draw a wild Pyromancer and then chain together spells afterwards. As it stands, he is going to he's going to be under heat. And Orange, knowing that the single copy of Silence has gone from Viper's deck, you're free to just slam the Acolyte and say, counterplay even to the wild Pyro turns.
I see a dark future.
Has to do this. Just Psycho Pump into Light Warden is just massively ineffective here. He has to try and take the 50-50 high roll off the Psycho Pump to get it back. Even then, the way this board is snowballing, it looks like Orange is potentially going to have enough damage to deal with that on the following turn.
The other thing, too, is that Orange, I don't think necessarily has to kill the Psycho Pump, just has to weaken it.
The Ahmet, you mean?
I'm sorry, yeah, the Ahmet, excuse me. I think he's going to kill the Ahmet. I would tend to in this spot. But I don't think it's a necessity. I think that finding some middle grounds is some of the most clever counterplay I've had to High Priest Ahmet.
I think you kill it because based on your experience of your opponent having a bunch of dead cards in their hand, those dead cards could be Divine Spirits and Inner Fires, and then you're allowing your opponent to kind of set up a huge counter punch against
Like
you
Circle
that way.
Healing or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very true story. The cards in Viper's hand, you know, you have, percentage reads on. Nothing's dirty. Viper misses the the High Priest Ahmet.
What is a loon's will?
Step 1, how do I choke the board? Step 2, how do I capitalize on having this position? Looks like a pretty easy bump over the Light Warden. Find a way to bolster the health on injured Tolbeer. Wipe out the Psycho Pump. And that Northshire Cleric is the way to do that.
Well, it was interesting. Before that Cleric was drawn, he did have the option of just suiciding the Tolveer and then trying to revive it with the Psycho Pump instead, which I'm not sure what else has died on Orange's side
Beaming
of the board.
Sidekick.
Just a Beaming Sidekick, right?
What
Yeah.
is a
So we'd have a 50-50 to bring back the 2/6 reborn.
Yeah, I'm in the Northshire Cleric camp.
Oh yeah, once the Cleric was drawn, I think you get off that plan very quickly, but at the start of the turn, it might have been a consideration.
I've got more left in me.
So you can see the problem with the Wild Pyromancer versus the Acolyte, and it's not a very fun proposition, but sometimes you gotta take what you can get.
Yep. And I think like, even if you drew the cards here, if you cleared the board, you'd still end up going for it. But you can topsy-turvy the Cleric, but there's no way that Acolyte dies to your hand right now.
Yeah, you can only cast 2 spells.
Yep.
So High Priest Ahmet, if you land, I'm sorry, the Psycho Pump, if you land the Ahmet, maybe you just play the Pyromancer.
Maybe.
It's a big Pyro. I don't think waiting around is going to work.
quickly.
Ugh.
Worst find.
Yeah, well, game 1 was not Orange's game. Game 2 is certainly not Viper's.
Same questions as last turn. Pick apart the board, capitalize.
Question number 1, can I kill my opponent? He's not far off.
Oh, yeah, that's always technically question number 1. And the answer is sometimes.
7, 8, 10, 16, 18 with the extra arms, I believe. 5, 7, 8, 10, 16, 18, yeah.
With both Psychopomps gone, perhaps you can just ignore this too.
Yeah. I think if you're Orange, you're at liberty to do just about whatever you want. Maybe this is the turn. He's going to see if he can get a 2/6 reborn back. That's what that trade would seem to suggest. It is also just the best vanilla trade on the board right now.
The end begins. I've got more left in me.
Down to 9. I think it's time. Just don't think it's enough.
It's still just so miserable though, right?
Yeah, it is. It's quite miserable.
Must consider.
Topsy on the 2/6 now because you are casting 3 spells, which will kill it and kill the remaining reborn afterwards.
So 3/1 reborn goes into 2/5.
Yes.
And then you wild Pyromancer, Topsy, extra arms, Divine Spirit.
Yep.
Yuck.
Yep.
You do it in a different order, perhaps?
In terms of remaining health on your Pyromancer?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. I don't think there's any way to manipulate the health because it's going to get chipped away anyway.
Yep.
And you need to cast the Topsy first if you want to clear off that injured Tolvir on the right side.
Correct.
Let's move quickly.
Do you like to play with fire?
Oh. Okay, I'm listening.
So then that goes in and then you Topsy the left one instead. Okay, sure. Wait. Yeah, but this doesn't work because you can't cast the Topsy as your second spell because then the Pyromancer dies. Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It didn't matter, but Viper messed that turn up. But he was dead that game.
He was trying to figure out something else to try to give himself a little bit extra board presence.
Yeah, I mean, the technical play that worked wasn't going to be good enough anyway. He would have survived on board, but he would have lost the game. So he was most likely just experimenting with something else to do. What he came up with didn't work because of the spell sequencing, but not a huge factor in the matchup.
Honestly, that was pretty clever though. Like I do like the idea of trying to find a way to preserve something somewhere where you didn't have anything else, because if you just clear a board there, like you're going to be in the exact same spot. Orange redevelops with extra card draw. Like you give him 3 extra cards in that turn because of the Acolyte. Like that game is all about the early board, seizing it, and then capitalizing. It's extremely volatile, and the first 3 turns are paramountly the most important turns of the game.
Yep, and you saw it crystallize there. Viper went first, had the 1-drop, which is usually advantageous, but then as you mentioned, he drew every single bad expensive card in his deck for the matchup. The only thing he was missing was the Bomb Soundy, right? He had both Psychopomps in his hand and the Armet, and then drew Dead Spell into Dead Spell off the top after that.
Yep, and so now Orange has his Quest Shaman and his Quest Druid remaining, and he's staring at the other side on Viper, where he has the Priest and the Druid available to it. So I imagine that Viper's extremely interested in Priest in this spot. He's got 2 favorables on the other side.
Well, he says he's like close to 100% favored with his Druid against Quest Druid. I don't know what his thoughts on the Shaman matchup are, but that could influence things as well. But no, you are correct. He is going to be going with the Priest once again for the decider.
A certain spot where you can't just be prideful. You got to just play the good deck.
I mean, what if the other deck is the good deck? What if it's not Pride? What if he's right?
My argument was, man, it's Priest.
Yeah, it's a good argument. It's very compelling.
God. Oh, he's right.
Again, I don't know Viper's feelings on Druid versus Shaman. Like, I would imagine that matchup can be quite tricky. But he certainly said that he had never lost until last week with his Miracle Druid up against the Quest Druid. But regardless, I think Priest makes sense. That is something that is known to have two good matchups against these two decks.
It is known.
Yeah.
I think this matchup is a little bit less about one drop exploding onto the board. You're welcoming it, but Quest Shaman's going to have a tough way handling the injured Tol'Vir early, has a tough way handling the injured Blade Master afterwards, and so that means turn 4 you get the payoff with the Neverset Ritualist. I like the keep from Viper.
Yeah, this was a full keep, right?
Yep.
The 3 cards that are now remaining in hand.
And I think it's absolutely right.
It's interesting, yeah. It's certainly I would have considered going for a 1-drop a bit more heavily, but when you do just sit down and path it out, you're like, yeah, okay, my 2/3 is not going to die. Like, worst case scenario, if I need to not be greedy and just turn my 2/3 into a 2/6 on turn 3, like, I can do that. It's totally fine. If I can get greedy, hell yeah, I'm going to get greedy, and then we're going to get the full sweep.
It is an extremely difficult matchup for Quest Shaman, where you need fortune and you need pretty picture-perfect play. You need to anticipate things, and at a certain point, you kind of just have to guess what their hand might be. And if you guess right, I think you have some opportunities. Now, with Viper's hand, I think that a lot of this opportunity is going to sit directly into, can I mind control tech the perfect card? So if that's the case, how does Orange manipulate that best? Because you got to make quest progress. You can't let the board snowball. You got to do a lot of things right. So to me, that smells like Bog Slosher.
You belong to the bar now.
So now's that situation where I was talking about before, where you can say, well, maybe I don't need to get super greedy here because this is a really good-looking Neverset Ritualist.
I guess my question is, do you go face or do you trade? In Viper's spot.
With the Light Warden?
Yeah, I think you go face.
I must consider.
There's just no punish to it on Orange's side.
Lackey Generator into Lackey. Evil Cable Wrap, Kobold.
I'm not even sure that's a punish, really.
I mean, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think giving their 3/3 rush through your taunt might be worse. Like, because the injured Tol'Vir is going to be a 2/6, so it's like you lose your Light Warden, but just chip him away.
Yeah, 2/6 is a 2/6 whether you go face or trade. I agree with Viper.
As TJ says that I say, I think it's 2 roads to San Antonio or whatever city he wants to pick today.
I disagree. I think that's better.
I disagree. I think it's worse.
And so we have reached an impasse.
I just want the argument to devolve into where we're not using anything to argue, just disagreeing. One day.
For
I hope you like my invention.
Board's getting big. I feel like Viper should be interested in playing around Mind Control Tech for just a little bit longer.
Or playing into Mind Control Tech because you can capitalize. So that's the visualization I think he has to look at right now.
Yes, and when I make that statement, like right now, I think an opponent's Mind Control Tech can actually negatively impact him significantly, whereas in later spots, I think he'll create situations where not so much. So I'm in favor of playing around it this turn.
So let's just say, for instance, you Beaming Sidekicked the 2/3.
Yeah.
And they Mind Control Tech what? What's the best Mind Control Tech target?
You have to give me some time to decide between the 4/3 and the 2/5. 2/5 Taunt in that case. There would be 2 2/5s on the board, of course. Probably the 4/3.
I think you can capitalize on that. You have 2 2/5s with another Ritualist. So you get the Mind Control Tech kind of out of the way. I'm a big fan of getting Mind Control Techs out of the way. I really am. Because if you can create a situation where it doesn't swing the board, what that means is later on in the game, you get to keep going full steam ahead.
Yeah.
What I hate is when I need to build board presence, but then I have to start thinking about mind control tech, and I'm like, wow, this suddenly got very ugly. You know, that's always a thought that's on my mind with this. With Orange, too, I think the issue is compounded because he does have 2 copies of Giggling Inventor in the deck. And when you're talking about Priest versus Quest Shaman, one of the ways that I have been most successful is when I don't get blown out of the water and I start landing Giggling Inventors.
Benoa, speak to me.
Orange, though, has just got a miserable set of cards to work with.
He's just slow on quest progress. He's not finding the kind of tempo plays of the lackeys. He's not really able to fight back currently.
Oh. Viper's... It's like... It's a good draw, but like Viper needs card draw. Like he's feeling himself in a situation where Orange's hand, he's probably thinking it's better than it actually is right now because Orange is kind of taking it a little slow, like perhaps looking for a swing turn.
Sure.
Turn still seems fairly clean though. Trade over that life drinker while killing 1 minion and then use Nefset to full heal the 2 big boys. Still 3 minions in play, still push damage face.
So you want to kill off the Nefset rituals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2/5 and 2/3 into the 3/3.
Yeah.
Go face.
The turn 5 is where I think the mind control tech becomes a bit trickier because they get to add little small things to the board with it. And then that's where that progress can be made. So I'll be curious to see how Viper navigates this.
Hey,
Perhaps you just overwhelm the mind control tech as well. You have 5 things in play. I like that.
Okay. I think I still like continuing to play around it for 1 more turn, but I think this is also very viable. 5 minions is significantly better than 4 at least.
I'm just looking at the 4/9 getting stolen. Like that could be a problem now.
Yeah, that does kind of suck.
All right, 20%.
Engaging TC-130.
Oh my! And he can't capitalize on that one. Board's way too spread out.
Now suddenly Viper is in the position where he desperately needs card draw and he doesn't find it. This is a situation where we are, between us, both going to insist that what we said was smart, because I would have continued to play around mind control tech. You would have got the mind control tech out of the way earlier, which both leads to not getting this 4/9 stolen.
Look,
very interesting.
There's a ton of ways to approach it, and this is where Hearthstone gets its toughest from an evaluation standpoint, is to remove yourself from result and think about possibility and best position.
Average percentages, average range of hands, average outcomes.
If that 4/9 doesn't get stolen, Viper's turn, it still hurts because he has to, he has to pay attention to board position in that one.
Yeah.
But I look at Orange's turn 4, where the mind control tech is the least impactful regardless of what the steal is. It wipes out one of his mana instantaneously. It doesn't let him put another priority down with this evil totem or an evil cable rat if that's there. And it means that weaponized wasp cannot be as impactful when you try to swing it back because he won't have a lackey in that position. In your position, when you continue to play around mind control tech, this isn't a possibility, but are you doing enough stuff? In Viper's position, if the 4/9 isn't stolen, how far ahead is he and how much damage does he get to push? All 3 of them have merit.
Yep.
And that's the thing that's hard about Hearthstone, is when all of your plays had merit, they all have the possibility of getting punished, and you don't know which one is which. You need the experience.
All very well said.
From nothing, power.
Hearthstone's
By the way,
hard.
I lost to a Shaman on Legend Ladder last night, where I made an Armet board and he Hagatha schemed it. Like a Quest Shaman. He just had a Hagatha scheme that was in his deck from the start of the game that he had in his opening hand, and just 7'd me on turn 7 with his Hagatha scheme.
Attaboy.
For my glory.
I stopped playing Hearthstone and went to bed after that.
My first versions of this deck, when I was trying to tech for Priest, I went through so many different variations. I had one where I had Earthquakes and Hagatha schemes. I had ones where I had Lickums and Zaps and Nerf Shocks. I eventually just settled on, this matchup kind of sucks. I'm just going to hope they draw bad.
For my glory.
quest complete. Takes the board.
Giggling in hand, damage in hand, barista in hand.
If Viper doesn't draw Northshire Cleric right here, he's in trouble. He's in trouble.
Yep. Look at the nerves on Orange's face right now. Huge intake of breath. He knows this is the turn where if really, really bad things don't happen to him this turn, he feels in control.
I must consider.
He's about to get some good news.
I've seen Viper cook up a lot of turns with nothing before. And he's going to go through every possibility and find the best thing he can, so. I just don't know what that best thing is. The best thing, honestly, might be to do nothing.
Pyro, circle, then you silence 1 health off the Blade Master, and then you extra arms through it.
You're not going to win that way, is all.
No,
Like, I'm thinking Northshire Cleric only.
Yeah, I agree.
Quickly.
It's not an effective board clear this turn. Like, it kind of works, but it's not effective in the sense of progressing you towards winning.
Yeah, like if you use all this wild pyro stuff and then you draw Northshire Cleric, you're going to hate yourself.
Yep.
So I agree with what he's cooked up here. Load up the extra arms, pick away at board. Do what you can, and then figure the rest out later. Play for the Northshire.
This barista, though. $22 damage with Bloodlust right now.
You better give her a big tip, because this is a lot that she's getting done.
Double pump Azarano and
Woo!
Starware High Mountain Ice Room for mana supplies coming right up.
By the way, if you do happen to get injured Blade Masters and injured Tolvirs in your hand as Shaman,